Jai Hind everyone. I, Itisha Jain from Siddharth Patel Subharti Institute of Law will discuss about the distinction between tort and contract and tort and crime. First, we will discuss about the distinction between tort and crime. A crime is a wrongdoing which hampers the social order of the society we live in, whereas tort, on the other hand, is a wrongdoing which hampers the individual or his property. The crime happens mostly intentionally. It is a deliberate act which the people do to get some unlawful benefits. On the other hand, the tort happens mostly due to the negligence. Tort is hardly intentional, but it is still damaging to the individual. Crime impacts the well being of the society in general. The legal bodies try to give proportional punishment in order to maintain peace in the society. On the other hand, tort impacts the well being of the individual. The aggrieved party seeks compensation for the damage. Next, crime are presented in the criminal code. On the other hand, torts are presented in the civil code. Compensation for crime is already mentioned in the book of law. Whenever the court has to decide about the amount of compensation, they simply refer to the law book. In certain cases, judges use their personal judgments too. Whereas the compensation for torts is given based on the damages of the aggrieved party. Next, we shall discuss about the distinction between tort and contract. Now, let us discuss about the distinction between torts and contract. In tort, no privity exists or is needed as harm is always inflicted against the will of the party injured. In contract, there must always exist privity of contract between the parties, that the parties must be legally bound to each other. In case of torts, minors can be sued and damages are paid out of his property. In contract, minority is a good defense, as minus contract is void ab initio, and no rule of estoppel applies. A tort is inflicted without or against the consent of the party, that is, the obligation arises without any consent. In a contract, obligation is founded on the consent of the parties, that is, the essence of the contract is consent. In tort, mistake even if it is innocent. If A enter B house by mistake, action lies in the tort in the form of trespass. In contract, a contract entered by mistake is void. But mistake of laws, one's own country is no defense, as everybody is supposed to know the law of one's own country. The period of limitation in case of torts usually runs from the date when the damage is suffered. In contrast, the period of limitation is the limitation of rem from the date of the breach. And last, the tort is a violation of infringement of right in rem, that is, the right available against the word at large. In case of contract, it is a violation of right in personam, that is, right available and enforceable against a particular person. In case of tort, the duty is fixed or imposed by law and is owed to the community at large. In case of contract, the duty is fixed by the will and consent of the parties and it is owed to a definite person or persons. In tort, motive is often taken into consideration, whereas in contract, the motive for the breach is immaterial. In torts, damages awarded may be real, exemplary, unliquidated, or contemptuous, whereas on the other hand, in contract, real and liquidated damages are awarded. Exemplary damages are rarely awarded. The liquidated damages are fixed damages that have been already decided by the party. Thank you, everyone.